Assalamu alaikum children. Welcome to our Islamic class. Children, in the last session we have completed Unit 8 Chapter 3, The Messengers and Their Message. The last three lessons dealt with the number of prophets and messengers sent on the face of earth and the basic message that they preached to their people, the message of Islam. We have also learnt the number of prophets mentioned in the Quran, the books which were revealed on them. We have also learnt the difference between a prophet and a messenger, the role of a messenger, and the last and final prophet, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the last and final word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al Quran. In today's class, we will begin with the new lesson, Unit 8, Chapter 4, The Prophet King, the story of Dawood alayhi salam. Our lesson objective is to learn the story of Prophet Dawood alayhi salam. Last year you learnt the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam and the children of Israel. In this lesson and the following chapter, you will study the stories of Prophet Dawood alayhi salam and Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. These two prophets were great prophets who were sent to lead the children of Israel to faith and submission to one God. Means to call the people to worship one God and to convey the message of Islam, to invite them to Islam. Dawood or David is one of the descendant of Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam or Jacob. He belonged to the lineage of Yaqub alayhi salam. He was born and raised in the city of Bethlehem in Palestine. Historians say that he was small built, blue eyed, pure hearted, and that he had the most beautiful voice in the world. His elderly father had 13 boys, of whom Dawood was the youngest. One day, the father chose 3 of his sons to join the army of his nation. The father instructed the youngest one, 16-year-old Dawood, not to take part in the fighting. Instead, he ordered him to help the army in other ways and to report to the father daily about what was happening on the war front. The rise of a hero. On the battleground, Dawood heard Talut or Saul, the Israelites' king, urging the Israelites to kill Jalut, Goliath, and his soldiers at the beginning of the battle. Talut said, "Whoever kills Jalut, I will let him marry my daughter, and he be my partner in the rule of the kingdom." Dawood was a young man of exceptional courage and strength. History books narrates that he went to the king and offered that he would be the one to kill Jalut. Talut, the army leader, was very impressed by Dawood's courage. He said, I admire your courage, but you are no match for Jalut, the mighty warrior. Let the strong men come forward. A few soldiers tried to kill Jalut, but instead they were killed. David, however, had already decided and was willing to meet the challenge. Proudly, he told the king that only the day before he had killed a lion who had threatened his father's sheep. He asked King Talut not to judge him by his young age, for he feared no one, no man or wild beast. King Talut, surprised by young Dawood, however, agreed. My brave soldier, if you are willing, then may Allah guard you and grant you strength. King Talut gave Dawood battle armor and a sword, but Dawood didn't feel comfortable wearing it. Dawood felt restricted in it, so he threw it away. With great courage, he rushed towards the enemy to kill Jalut or Goliath. When he was near Jalut, Dawood picked up a rock, used his leather sling, and aimed at Jalut's forehead. Amazingly, he hit Goliath in the head and killed him instantly. Everyone was shocked to see what happened. How was it possible that a small youth could kill a knight, a great warrior, with a rock? Chaos spread among the enemies as they witnessed their slain leader falling to the ground. They despaired and dispersed. Allah said in Suratul Baqarah, by Allah's will, they routed them, and Dawood slew Goliath. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Suratul Baqarah that it was the will of Allah that they could defeat the enemy disastrously and Dawood alayhi salam could kill Jalut. And Allah gave him power and wisdom and taught him whatever else he willed. King Talut fulfilled his promise and Dawood alayhi salam became his son in law and his heir soon after. Means, heir means a person legally entitled to the property or rank of someone on the death of the person. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed Prophet Dawood alayhi salam with prophethood and kingship. Hadith Sharif: a strong believer is better and more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the weak believer, but both have goodness in them. A strong believer is more beloved than the weak believer, but both have goodness in them because they are believers. Take care of what is good for you. Seek the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and don't become idle. Whenever a calamity hits you, don't say, I wish I had done this, then nothing would have harmed me. When any calamity comes or any difficult situation occurs, so you should never say that if I would have done something or I would have avoided doing something, so this difficult situation would have not come, or I would have protected and prevented myself from this calamity, because it is not in your hand, not in your control. It is by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you say this thought makes shaitan work and it affects your heart. Instead, you should say, this calamity was willed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whatever He wills, He does. Means, whatever happens, any situation, you should divert it to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Reported by Ibn Majah, Ahmad. And one more reference, Al Bayhaqi. On the authority of Abu al Abbas, Abdullah ibn Abbas, who said, one day I was riding behind the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said to me, O young man, I shall teach you some words of advice. Be mindful of Allah, and you will find Him in front of you. If you ask of Allah. If you seek help in Allah. Means Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised to be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every time, to ask Him for help or ask Him for anything you want and you need. And if you do so, if you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every time, you'll find Him in front of you. Means all your tasks will become easy. Know that if the nations were to gather together to benefit you something, they would not benefit you with anything except that which Allah has already recorded for you. You need to understand this fact very clearly. If the entire nation, if the entire world comes together to help you with something, to benefit you with something, they would not be able to do so except if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed it to happen. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined it for you. If they gather to harm you, on the other hand, by anything, they would not be able to harm you by anything except what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already recorded against you. Means if they gathered to harm you by something, they would not be able to do it except what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already written for you. The pens have been lifted and the pages have dried. Means your destiny is already written and only that will happen what Allah has already recorded for you. Tirmidhi Hasan Sahih. If one truly ponders this hadith, if you truly observe, it is the prescription for removing fear. If you follow, if we follow what the hadith commands, if you understand its meaning and if you apply it, it is the best prescription to remove fear. Because it assures you that everything happens by the decree and by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and no human being or no other help can benefit you or harm you. In addition, it is also important to note the following verse in the Quran. What does the verse say? Let's understand. Allah is the protector and guardian of those who believe. He brings them out from darkness into light. While Allah as one protector and guardian, what is left to fear? Allah is the protector, He is the guardian. Only the condition is to believe, to have a firm belief. And when you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and He is the one who protects and guards, what else is left to fear, to be afraid of, to be scared of? Because He, the Almighty, the most merciful, the most powerful, He is protecting and guarding you. Only the condition is to believe. Children, I'll conclude this session over here. The remaining part we will do in the next class.